We are live. One person, one mic. Hello, how are you? There he is. What's up, my friend? How are you? Jesse Good, Conscious Wanderer. Conscious, I'm looking forward to tomorrow, man. Really am. I sent you an email. Let me know what time works for you. Troy, how are you? Hope everyone's doing well today. That's something you don't see. I have more likes than people. Go figure, right? Amanda, how are you, dear? Harry, what's going on? Mag, how are you? Mag XL. Smitty. Kenneth. Nick Carroll, how are you? Tyler 420. Jager. Polsky. John Collins. Sham. Shemia. Shemaya. Shemam. 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 Jimmy. Wesley September. Just B. Brian Mons. Janie, how are you, dear? Glad you're here with us. You changed your avatar thingy majiggy. Eramic! Cynthia, how are you? Pops. Did you? All right, I'll read it when we're done with the live. How are you, Jason? Have you seen a dude on YouTube named Uncle Rob? He's an old trucker and talks about lot lizards. No, I haven't. Nope. Delirium, how are you? Jane, I like the new picture. Sniff it out, how are you? I hope it doesn't smell too bad. Randy Man. Mindy Weeks. The Crazy Life at Amanda's house. So 3 really decent, I hope decent Lizzo stories tonight. I am back probably 95%. I still got the sniffles, but it also snowed out today. So I was outside for about 2 hours snow blowing, which I do not like. Sonia, how are you, dear? Jamaris, how are you? I feel a lot better. You missed no one, Jimmy. You missed no one. You and Jane are like the welcoming committee, Jimmy. Pops, thank you so much. So nice of you. Thank you. 45. It's 27 right now. 27. How are you? Sean McCabe, how are you? I hate when it snows because, like, I literally just cleaned my car. So I was like, oh, it's nice and clean because I have major OCD. That is my mental illness. Whenever I feel uncomfortable with something, I will vacuum my house 4 times a day if I feel uncomfortable by something. And so, like, I had to go to the store and driving through the snow, pulled in my garage, and I'm just looking at my car, and I'm like, now it's fucking dirty again. I'm like, ugh. I don't know. It's so weird. I don't care if it's like dirt and dust, like from like going in the woods or something, but when it's muck and snow muck and salt schmeck. Jay Cortez, how are you? I'm glad that you're here with us, War Daddy. Key West Cat Lady, how are you? Jay Cortez, September. Wesley, what is it, like 63 weeks, 64 weeks? I didn't see. The salt is just gross. How do you like the new look? No beard. Looks good. Keep it. $28. It was about 22. I think today was the lowest was 22. Keep no beard, keep the look now. I kind of like it. I shaved and I came out and my daughter looked at me and she's like, I said, I feel younger. Good stuff, Jimmy. You are the fucking man. Don't let anyone ever tell you. Thank you, Amanda. Janie. It's weird because my face was cold. I was like, damn. I'm sure you do. Dude, if I had your job, I would be like literally out there with like a fucking ruler. Jimmy, I could never not be proud of you. You are such a good friend. 31 in Texas? Holy shit. That's cold. That's cold for Texas. That's cold for Texas. What's up, Bill? How are you, buddy? War Daddy, I've been to the Conjuring House, a couple other places. The video's on my channel. Me and my daughter we did an overnight at the Conjuring House. Just me and her. Snow in Florida, holy smokes. All right. Yeah, I've got like SLS cameras. I've got all the equipment. I captured some amazing footage at the Conjuring House. I honestly, and I'm not saying like to toot my own horn because I'll do that later tonight, but I've seen a lot of the channels out there that have like captured stuff at the Conjuring, and my SLS camera stuff puts the majority of those research and investigations to shame, to be honest with you. What's up, Glenn? How are you? Glad you're back. Annette, how are you, dear? Roger Perkins. All right, you want to start the night off with a Paranormal Files. If it's a YouTube channel, I don't watch other YouTube channels. I literally just kind of do my own thing, research my own stuff. Just because it's better that way for me. And I've always done that since I started the channel. All right, start the night off with a Black Eyed Kids experience. I think that sounds wonderful. You know it, Aramek. You know it. Thank you, Shan. I do. I feel a lot better. Software? In what? Paranormal research? I don't understand what you're talking about, Wesley. But we're going to start the night off right now. I was home alone on Thanksgiving 2015 evening time, and I heard some knocking. Being in a festive and playful spirit, I opened the door without looking and automatically felt a deep sense of regret, sort of like a literal oh shit moment. I didn't know where it was coming from until I started actively trying to place what was wrong with the situation, and that's when I realized they didn't have any whites in their eyes. For a few seconds, I thought, isn't Halloween over? And was confused till the oldest boy made eye contact with me, and that's when I literally felt like I was staring death in the face. They wanted to come in, and the way they spoke made it seem like they knew what I was thinking and were actively mocking my helplessness. I slammed the door on them, turned on all my lights, and started watching TV while they stood outside and would occasionally knock. I felt like I lost it. Excuse me. I felt like I lost a good 6 hours of time because, damn it, I didn't remember when I fell asleep or what I was watching last. I remember when I first sat down, Gabriel Iglesias was playing, but I don't remember anything else. When I woke up, it was 2 a.m., the lights were all off, and the static was on the TV. I have Dish Network, and there was no power outages in my area, and I don't get static if the dish were to even go out. I get a channel listing as HDMI and a black screen, or it would be an introduction screen where it would show two people talking about the features of Dish Network. Also, if the lights went out, they would come back on. I had to literally switch the lights on and off a few times to get them to work. No one else was home. After that, I would occasionally see them outside, and every time it would be a pin drop silence, and my lights would occasionally go out or something would lose power like the dish. One time, my phone was at 63%, dropped to 1% in 5 minutes. After a few months of being afraid of every knock, I decided to call an eye the home. I also saged the house and bought a lot of different palms to put into every room, including the bathroom. Since then, the visits had stopped. However, a few months after that, I remember hearing a blood-curdling scream and banging at the door. I looked through a peephole and saw nothing. A few months ago, maybe 2 or so, my mom and I heard a banging coming from the front door, and same thing, no one was there. I don't know if it was them or something coming back or just kids playing a prank, but I was scared. Damn it. John Sumner, how are you? Hollow Days, how are you? Jarrett, what's going on, my friend? Mr. Poor, how are you? Little Horse? As a New Yorker, I welcome you. Just practice, War Daddy. I still mess up all the time. It's honestly practice. Carol Hollenbeck, how are you, dear? Maggie Mayhem. Danny Barnett, how are you, buddy? Paolo. Setting. San Felipe Road, San Jose. San Felipe is a back road where it's basically hilly and trees next to it. Possible crawler. Has anyone else ever seen anything like this? I went to San Felipe today at around 3. It was around near to be 4 a.m., but yet not yet 4 a.m. when we exit San Felipe. As we were going down San Felipe, the road was very foggy. Everything was fine, but as we were leaving San Felipe, me and the driver saw a translucent, squarish apparition with waves next to a tree. I was also in the front seat. We both really couldn't describe what we saw, but the people in the back seat saw a furry creature with claws hanging onto the tree. A grayish, blackish creature, fat from what was described. The creature was also seen by multiple people before, but no one could ever give a clear description of it since they never seen anything like it, but it looked humanoid. From other times they saw it, They saw it walk on four legs, and it's fat, thick, but definitely not bigger than an adult human. So when we tried to go back to look for it, it was no longer at the spot we saw it. Mind you, when we saw it, we booked it and left hella fast because we were all shitting our pants. But kid you not, when we went back to San Felipe, the fogs were mostly gone. I think there's definitely something going on San Felipe. Also, take descriptions of translucent square and the creature with a grain of salt. Everything happened so fast as when we saw it. We panicked and drove very fast, but we definitely saw something by the tree, and it's never anything we've seen before. Definitely not monkey. Definitely not a monkey, since monkeys don't live around here. And it was able to fully grasp the entire tree, and it was a big ass tree. Also, I live near and once heard a shriek from there. My friends also heard a woman scream loudly from there. Is there something bigger going on this road? This road is very close to a residential area, but doesn't connect to anything, and have been sightings for many paranormal activities. Is there something bigger going on? Apparently, there has also been people in black cloaks. I am scared as fuck since I live so close to the road. I apologize for my English. It is not my first language. I don't know. San Felipe Road is in San Jose. So yeah, probably Puerto Rico. So like maybe like ancient, like just not Native Americans, but I guess they would be Native Americans, Aramaic. Because it would be America. Yeah, unfortunately, Glenn, YouTube has got to make their money, so they stick fucking ads in the live stream now. It's been a while since you've been here. Moving to Buffalo, Rochester area. Oh, God help you, little horse. God help you. When the winter comes, it's hell there. How is Alabama with these issues? Just curious. Alabama has lots of paranormal and lots of cryptids. But every state in the union really does. I don't think so either, Tyler. 420. that if someone says that, that's creation, you know. Actually, I was reading somewhere, speaking of all of the weather talk, there's like some polar vortex or something that has opened, and I guess America, the east coast of America, is going to get hit pretty hard this winter, in Europe as well. So I don't know. I don't believe dogmen speak, Mr. Poor. Hercules, what's up? Very interesting experience right here. Early in my career, I was a public safety officer for a hybrid public safety agency out in the Western United States. I'm still on the job, and my career has been unique. That too much info about me can and has gotten me doxxed. In the fall of 2015, and part of my patrol jurisdiction included national forest land, it wasn't uncommon towards the end of camping season to get a call for unusual things, lost or stranded hikers, campers, wellness checks, etc. Dispatched placed a call out, and concerned parties heard blood-curdling screams, cries, and things from a horror movie. I responded to the area, and no one was present, no signs of anything. I radioed dispatch and advised such. I clear out the call on the laptop of the cruiser and take one final look in the area before leaving. I heard a loud and aggressive footstep approach the police vehicle as I put the car in drive. Sounds not dissimilar to a large running dog. I pull away and feel something thump the trunk of the squad car. I look in the rearview mirror and I see what was likely either a Dogman or a Bigfoot chasing closely behind the vehicle for the duration of 2 miles towards the exit of the park. It kept up at full speed. It was large, hairy, and mad as hell. I radioed dispatch and they notified park services after hours custodian of my encounter. A few days later, the Park Service posted an article advising of campers and hikers to be aware of large cats in the park. There had not been a large cat sighting in this area for almost 50 years. No tracks or sightings of large cats have been noted either. I spoke a few weeks ago with someone still at the agency, and the first thing they said was, "Do you remember that thing you encountered in the park? One of the rookies experienced something very similar a few days ago. Maybe you're not crazy after all." Great validation that cryptids don't like me either. Well, yeah, obviously, Colton, just saying, but when you're driving and you're looking in the rear view and you're driving quickly, you're probably not going to be able to tell. So, I mean, that's just my thing on that. But yeah, I was thinking the same. Like, wouldn't you notice a muzzle? But unless he just saw, like, one, it could have been dark. I wish they had said it was fucking dark. But, it could have been dark. It could have been dusk. Like, if it was dusk or dark, at least they would have noticed, like, some large brown kind of mass. But if it was day, yeah, you'd definitely be able to tell the muzzle from no muzzle. I agree. Truth Quest, how are you? Thank you, Marcy. How are you tonight? All right. Is it time for a lot lizard story? We're about 20 minutes in. Maybe want to do one more encounter? We'll do one more encounter. We'll hit it at the half hour. Or you want to do it now? Now or after? I'm getting yes. Okay. All right. Let's see. This one's a little different. This one is a little different. I tried to do I tried to do some really creative writing on this one, so I apologize. The neon sign above the Double Clutch Diner flickered like a dying firefly at midnight, half its bulbs dead, the rest spelling out double minus the E, clutch minus the CH, and diner minus the I and an E. But those who prowled the fringes of society, long-haul truckers, midnight stragglers, and the occasional fugitive, it still read exactly right. A sanctuary, a sex trap, and a soup to nuts operation known far and wide as the kingdom of Lizzo the Lot Lizard. Lizzo wasn't born royalty. She clawed her way out of the trailer park in Arkansas with a voice like molten honey in a rack that broke laws in 3 counties. Now reigning supreme over the crumbling truck stop off of I-40, she ran her empire with a flair, ruthlessness, and the eye for a good pair of cowboy boots. Her lot lizards, a band of hardened, high-heeled professionals, worked the parking lot like spies behind enemy lines, turning lonely miles into cash-filled nights. Her king, Earl the Thunder Hog, a Mississippi-born trucker with biceps like drive shafts, a soul as big as a diesel tank, and a loyalty so deep he once punched a coyote for looking at Lizzo funny. It was a humid August night, thick with the scent of fried bologna and desperation that the sky turned green. Lizzo and Earl stood outside the diner, sharing a joint rolled with oregano and regret. The parking lot was quiet, unseasonably so. No engines, no moans from the parking lot Peterbilt or from the park Peterbilts, not even the usual fight between Carla and Tater over the lip gloss. Then the wind came. It started as a soft whistle. It started as a soft whistle tea kettle about to scream. Then the sky twisted. A funnel descended from the heavens like God's own toilet flusher, glowing in eerie electric pink with flecks of glitter. Lizzo, Earl said, pointing with a trembling sausage finger. Ain't that something you see every night? Ain't that something you see every night? Only on my third Ambien, Lizzo replied, puffing hard. Before they could react, the tornado inhaled them. Truck cap, stiletto heels, joint and all, sucking them into a vortex like spaghetti down a disposal. They awoke in a field of poppies, not the kind that would put you to sleep, but poppies that smelled suspiciously like stale patchouli and wet feet. Where the hell'd my truck go? Earl groaned, brushing an emerald green leaf off his stained wife beater. Hush, sugar. We ain't in Kansas no more, Lizzo said, adjusting her leopard print beret. We's in Technicolor hell. Indeed they were. The sky was lavender. The trees wore top hats. A scarecrow with a GPS in his chest wandered past, muttering about rerouting. Excuse me, haybag, Lizzo loitered. We need directions to the nearest bus station. The scarecrow turned. You must be here to dethrone the wicked witch of the West, Galinda, said a queer, fabulous force of nature would come too. Sweetheart, Lizzo interrupted, I ain't here to throw nobody. I got to get back to my girls. Tater owes me $80 in tips, and I smell betrayal. But before she could stomp off, the sky darkened. Shadows stretched. A cackle like a jackal with a throat cold echoed across the valley. Who dares trespass in my swamp of suffering? A green-skinned hag in a black broom flew overhead, her nose like a plucked chicken and her mood fouler than a week-old chili. Lizzo squinted. Hell no. You best fly your ugly ass back to where you came from, Satan's nail tech. The witch gasped. Did that truck stop tramp just sass me? Tramp, Lizzo threw up her hands. I'm a small business owner. Earl cracked his knuckles. You hurt my woman, I'll snap that broom in half and shove it. Enough, the witch shrieked. With a flick of her fingers, she summoned an angry of flying waitresses, rotund, horned, wielding coffee pots and flamethrowers. Lizzo didn't flinch. She reached into her boot and pulled out a tiny aerosol can of hairspray industrial strength, extra hold for bad days and worse men. She tossed it to Earl. Ignite it, baby. Earl pulled a Zippo from his overalls and sparked a flame. Lizzo aimed the can and sprayed a blue jet of fire erupting, turning two waitresses into crispy croissants. Y'all ever see a monster truck Friday? She yelled. This is prostitute flamethrower chic. The battle raged. Earl wrestled a flying goat. Lizzo lip-synced Truth Hurts to distract the witch. It worked. She paused to judge Lizzo's choreography. Just as the witch summoned a tsunami of expired milk, the shimmering figure appeared. Galinda, the good witch, but not the prissy one from the movies. No, this Galinda looked like she had just stepped off a pride float, wearing a rainbow tiara made of vape pens. Lizzo, Galinda boomed. Your aura is 98% sass and 2% spite. I like that. You must reach the Emerald City. The wizard can send you home. The Emerald City looked like a meth lab designed by Matsi. Everything glowed green, and the citizens wore goggles and spoke in high-pitched squeaks. They bust into the throne room, Lizzo in front, heels clicking like gunshots. Where's the wizard? The giant floating head appeared, fiery, bearded, and clearly overworked. I am the great, powerful Oz. Fear my... Cut the streaming service, Baldy, Lizzo snapped. We want to go home now. I can't just do it, Earl growled, cracking his neck, or I'll show you what happens when Thunderhog gets real mad. The wizard stammered. Fine, but only if you swear never to speak of this. Lizzo narrowed her eyes. Oh, we'll be quiet after Earl gives you a personal foot massage. Earl didn't wait. He yanked off his left boot, sweaty, worn, reeking of 18-wheelers and bad choices. And before the wizard could scream, shoved it deep up his emerald-robed pants, directly into his hairy, forbidden posterior crevice. Aye, my sacred booty hole, the wizard howled, his head flickering like a dying bulb. Lizzo leaned close. Tell Toto I said hi, and if you ever suck another soul into a tornado, I'm coming back with nail guns and rhythm. With a puff of glitter and the sound of a dying fax machine, they were gone. Back to the Double Clutch Diner. The neon blinked back to life. Double Clutch Diner. Loving you since 1997. Lizzo and Earl tumbled out of the thin air, covered in fairy dust and trauma. Dang, Earl said. My boot smells like Oz. Inside, the lot lizards erupted in cheers. Tater handed Lizzo a double shot of wild turkey. We thought you got abducted by them aliens. Lizzo sipped and then smirked. Worse, a green hag with commitment issues. They settled in, and life returned to normal. Men with regrets pulled in, the coffee still lukewarm, the jukebox still stuck on Before He Cheats. But sometimes, when the wind howls just right, Lizzo turns to Earl and says, you know, I think the wizard still dreams of me. And Earl, ever loyal, replies, then let him. For in the heart of America's wasteland, under flickering lights and starless skies, Lizzo, the lot lizard, reigned supreme, queen of the midnight shift, champion of the lonely, and the only woman who ever gave the Wizard of Oz the boot to the soul. And somewhere, in a green tower far away, the wizard still winces when he sits down. And there you go. Pups, good night. Arabic! Thank you, my friend. Rosie, how are you? Arabic, thank you for the members. I appreciate you, my friend. I had to do, I wanted to do something a little bit like different. So I was like, what can we do? Lizzo and Oz. 5 rings. What's up, brother? How are you? Thank you, Amanda. You know, that's funny you say that, Conscious, because I just finished the last season of Alice in Borderlands. Delirium, thank you so much. Dude, right? The movie was sick. I will check it out. I didn't have time to do any look at my emails. Thank you so much, Delirium. No, I never smoked no oregano. I smoked some weed a long time ago, though. About 10 years ago was my last time. All right. Oh, this one's good. This one's good. I like this one right here. I guess a little background information is in order. I'm Lakota and recently moved back to the state of Missouri. I am no stranger to the paranormal and have had my fair share of paranormal experiences. Also an avid storm chaser. There are a few things more beautiful and spiritual than witnessing a storm roll through the high plains of the Midwest. I also digitally document all when I can. Here is what happened. Myself and my adult son moved back to Missouri. We moved into a cozy little house out in the country, yet I am not so far away from the city that I can't get internet or trash service. I can still hear traffic of the nearby highway as well. My house sits off a road surrounded by large old trees. If you were here, you would feel like you were in the middle of nowhere. The house is 2 bedrooms with an attached garage, but it was turned into a mini apartment complete with a full two size bathroom and mini kitchen. My son decided to take that. I chose the master bedroom with a full bath, main part of the house, and an empty bedroom adjacent to mine. After about a week of getting settled in, one night I got out of bed and received an alert on my phone of a thunderstorm. I got my son up and told him I wanted to do some audio recording of the storm. I told him to grab the mic and tripod. I installed the dead cat and opened the window in the empty bedroom. I placed the mic near the window, pressed record, and went back into my room. I also opened the bathroom window in my room so that I could hear the rain and thunder better. It wasn't long before I passed back out. Damn it. As I'm sleeping, I suddenly was woken up by a crashing sound of curtains coming from the bathroom. I jumped up in bed and I saw a dark figure hunched over with glowing red eyes. I couldn't quite make out the features, but I instantly went into fight mode. My instincts was to scream at this thing, but I couldn't. I started to panic and started moving my arms around to find the nearest object to throw at this thing. I finally was able to get a pathetic little squeak out. I looked at dead in the eyes and told it with what breath I had, "Get out of my house. I do not fear you." With that, the thing turned around and jumped out of the window. Once my heart started to slow down, I went back to bed. The next morning, I went and stopped the recording. I was more than anxious to see what, if anything, paranormal I got. So then the storm audio. The recording was a little over 8 hours and still haven't gone through it completely. But what I did go through, I caught some amazing things. One of the first things I heard a voice say, "Judden." I have no reference for that. I don't know anyone with that name. I also heard something say, "Shoot," followed by some sort of whirling noise and a thud. I heard a few beeps and buzzing sounds as well. The thing that got me, I am even getting cold chills writing this out, was around the same time that I was woken up, I heard what sounded like a heavy sack of potatoes falling to the floor, followed by heavy footsteps and the sound of a tripod teetering. I then heard what sounded like fast sniffing of the mic, like a dog would do when you put your hand out to greet it. I am not sure what paranormal creature I could have encountered, although I do have a few guesses, but it lives out here. It is just going to have to get along with me because I am not moving anytime soon. I remember when I think it was the only kind of, what do they call the fucking, my brain just shut off completely. The hag. My little brain just literally shut off. Sleep paralysis. There we go. When I had my sleep paralysis, I think it was the only time, I don't recall any other times. I was lying on the couch and I really distinctly remember hearing sniffing like a dog. And it was face to face with me while I was sleeping on the couch, almost like it was quadruped. And it was so terrifying. I couldn't let anything out. Good. Here we go. All right. Aramic, I believe. Yep, here it is. This one is for you, Aramic, and all of that wonderful research you do and bring to us for our Mothman research. So a while back, maybe 7 years ago, I was on this Mothman kick. I did a lot of internet research on the subject, the history, sightings, potential links to other things people have claimed to see. I ended up dragging 2 friends of mine into the mix and got them interested. A short time after the initial interest, maybe a week or 2 later, 2 strange things happened. We are originally from a seasoned resort town, busy and full of life for 6 months, then quiet and desolate for the other 6. The entire surrounding area is heavily wooded, a lot of small roads through the woods and small communities. One night in December, we were driving around for lack of anything better to do. The subject of Mothman had come up several times during the night. We would drive around a bit, bullshit, stop, have a cigarette, drive some more, blast some music, stop at the convenience store, hang out in a lot, drive some more. Anyway, we just stopped at the store and grabbed some drinks, got back into the car, started driving, and ended up going down this long, dark road in the woods. No houses around, no lots or side roads for another car to come from, just trees. It was kind of a simultaneous reaction. All 3 of us noticed red lights behind us, like tail lights almost. At first, it was kind of distant, and then it started getting closer, like it was going faster. We all commented on it, and were slightly unnerved. Where did that car come from? And when it was maybe about 30 feet away from us, it just disappeared, gone. We were all freaked out. An hour or so later, we got back to my friend's house. We went upstairs to her room. We're all talking about the lights and how strange it was. And then from the outside of the house, there was this shrill. We all froze and looked at each other. We went to the porch off of her room, and there was nothing out there, just trees. Was it all just some strange, explainable coincidence? Was it the hype of the Mothman talk? I can't explain the red lights. The screech could have been some sort of animal, maybe. I've never heard anything like it before. And okay, even if it was something strange, how would it know we were talking about it? And even so, do unexplainable creatures that may or may not exist have nothing better to do than mess with a group of teenagers? Arthur. Anytime I think about Mothman, I think about fucking Arthur. I did not. I've got to look at that. What do I Google it on, or do I look on YouTube Truth Quest? If I just type that in, bonus material. Arthur is awesome. Dude, he is the original Mothman. You cannot, like, you want to do any research on Mothman? Watch The Tick. I'm going to have to just check and see. What's up, Chicken Man? Among the many ghost stories told during lull periods of lengthy military exercises, the one that stood out the most in Singapore is probably that of the third door of Charlie Company. In short, It was about how a third door was made to allow a spirit of a recruit who died a gruesome and mysterious death to leave peacefully. There was even a local movie made about the incident called 2359 that you can find on YouTube. I have personally seen this third door, so there was at least some credence to this experience. My experience, however, happened many years later when the camp was largely unused. My company was planning to use a rifle range near the camp for our annual rifle proficiency test, which lasted several days. I was selected to be part of a very small advanced party that would arrive a few days before the main body. The barracks of the camp were essentially long houses separated by their respective toilets and laundry areas. My platoon mates and I would occupy one of the longhouses during the night where we would play cards and tell creepy stories to pass time. To relieve myself, I had just stepped out of the barrack when I noticed that the lights of the toilet belonging to Charlie Company had suddenly come on. The bright white light cast a clear shadow of a man onto the water point of the laundry area. I froze. There was a voice telling me to go investigate, while another told me to grab my friends. The shadow didn't seem to budge at all during the whole time I was observing it. Then I heard my friend calling for me. This snapped me out of my reverie as I rushed back in and pulled my friends out to show them what I had seen. However, by then the lights had already gone off. My friends suggested that it was probably the range warden, which was the only logical explanation. What really puzzled me then was that my friend had called out to me because I had been gone for so long. But yet, in my mind, the whole thing only lasted less than 30 seconds. The next day, I quizzed the range warden about the incident, and a worried look came over his face as he explained that he was nowhere near the camp that night. What's more perplexing was that the power to Charlie Company, it's been cut off for a long time now. This is my account of an only real scary occurrence in my life. It was mid-October 1992. I was riding home on my motorcycle from seeing some friends. It was late in the evening, early morning hours of a chilly fall weekend in Central California. I had made my turn off a country freeway onto a less than well-lit country road. I remember that the road ahead was deserted, no headlights coming towards me, nor any taillights in my rear view. The road was encompassed with large walnut groves on each side. The huge trees and land swallowed the distant ahead in complete darkness. I was chipping along at about 50 miles jogger up ahead of me on my right-hand side. My mind quickly thought, how odd, wondering why someone would be out here jogging at this time of the year at this hour of the night. As I approached, I gradually moved to the middle of the road to give the jogger space. I touched on my brights so he'd see me approaching. Now, understand this. At first, in my mind, there was nothing out of the ordinary other than the timing of the situation. A hooded runner, heather gray sweats, a figure about 6 foot tall jogging along the shoulder of a deserted country road at midnight in October. As I approached at a safe distance, maybe 100 feet away, bright headlight blazing, I saw him, or should I say it, stumble. I fully expected the figure to fall, sprawling face down into the plowed dirt, but it did not. It did fall to the ground on all fours, and very quickly, with amazing agility, began running like an animal on all fours, like a wild animal. Mind you, I'm riding at a regular speed at this point, maybe 55 on my motorcycle, but the hooded human form that I watched became an animal, was keeping pace with me for a moment. Then, as if it sensed it had been discovered, it sped off to the right into the pitch black walnut grove. My blood ran cold. I downshifted out of instinct, throttled hard, and was gone. All I could think of that split second was that thing, that animal, that creature might suddenly pop out into my rear view with some horrific, grimaced face right before ending me. Before I knew it, I was 5 miles down the road and my speedometer was reading 100 miles an hour. Just before I made my final right turn toward home, I brought my courage up to look in the rear view. Nothing. There was pitch black behind me. Whatever it was gone. Shaking, I made my last turn. I did not look back again until I pulled into my garage and closed the door. To this day, now 30 years later, I can tell that true experience to my friends and they will react with complete disbelief. Some believe me, others don't. What was it? A person, an animal, some sort of shapeshifter, or something of a combination of all those? I don't know. John Sumner. Eunice, how are you? Turbo Christ. You got to beat it a little harder, Brian Mons. You got to beat it a little harder. Aramaic! Just gifting those memberships. The membership gifter. Thank you, Aramaic. SDL, how are you? Sorry I didn't spot you earlier. It's Tyler 420 _ 22. It's what his name is. That's the thing. You can't use force with it, Brian Mons. You got to be ever so gentle while beating the puckwudgie. You're fighting the flu now, my friend? Damn, SDL. That's not a good flu to fight. I can tell you that. I heard if you coat the puckwudgie in oil, it tends to go a little smoother. Lake Superior, how are you? Oh, there we go. Here's another military kind of base experience. Back in 2021, when COVID was still around and all the bars and cafes were closed, myself and my friends used to go to an abandoned military base to have a quick beer and chill out. The base was open to the public, so it was totally legal, and many people used to go there in the morning, but we used to go at night when no one was there so we could blast our music. One night, we're hanging out in this building where the dining area was, and we were having a great time. Suddenly, we heard this weird voice coming literally from the other side of the base. I don't believe it was a scream, but it was loud enough to understand that something was off. We decided to go and check it out in case someone needed help. When we reached the place where the voice had come from, we saw a 3-floor building where soldiers used to sleep. It was very hard to enter because of the broken glass that literally was everywhere and the trees that were growing so big that blocked the entrance. While investigating, I heard something whistle, but in a weird way. I told my friends about it, but they thought I was messing with them. After a couple of minutes, there it goes again. My friend thought I started being paranoid, and they advised me to leave. But when we were all talking, it went off the third time. Our bodies froze. We all looked at each other with pure terror. Keep in mind, it was 4 in the morning. There was literally no one else around. The whistle came from the third floor, so we decided to investigate. As soon as we reached the second floor, we came across a metal door with a small window, almost like a prison door. My friend tried to open the door, but it was very heavy, so all four of us had to push. The door opened, the room was very quiet, and it did not have any windows at all, so it was really dark. While searching with our phone flashlights, we smelled a strange odor, almost like something was burning recently. We did not find anything special, but as soon as we tried to leave, we noticed the door was closed. Keep in mind, there are no windows at all for a wind to close it. But even if they were, the door must have been at least 150 kilograms. Basically impossible. After opening again, we were heading downstairs to leave the building. We heard a loud bang. Both me and my friend screamed, and we turned around and the door was closed again. We started running out of the building with so much fear, my friend literally started having a panic attack. We finally left the building. We never stopped going to the base, but we stayed in a different building. Anyway, that's my experience. I don't know what to think of it. Ghost, who knows? Maybe it was just some homeless squatters, but it was scary. Sorry for the bad English and the typos. You guys want to play Name That Song? Should we play Name That Song? They're both doing better, SDL. Thank you for asking. All right. Name that song. Is DB Mac here? I haven't seen DB Mac tonight. Because 20 bucks is 20 bucks. No one's going to name it. No one's going to name it. It's an old country song. Hi, Bubby. How are you? Jaker, thank you so much. It was Charlie Daniels Band. Devil Went Down to Georgia. I figured as much, buddy. We'll have one more last Name Your Tune in a little bit, my friends. I figured about. Love you, bud. Bye. All right, here we go. My wife and I love to camp. When we lived in Tucson, our favorite spot was Gardner Canyon at San Rita Mountains in Tucson. We were kids at the time, probably only 17 or 18. We decided to go camping and packed up our tiny Nissan Sentra and loaded our 2 dogs. We got to our favorite spot on a flat area just above the natural spring. Set up camp, cooked some food over the campfire, nothing out of the ordinary. Just like every other time we had stayed at this spot. At around 11 p.m., though, everything changed. We started to hear a sound off to the west of us, something like an animal, but in pain. It was a low groaning sound, and I was not able to place it with any animal. We heard it a few times. Each time it seemed to be a bit closer. At this point, I'm watching the dogs for a reaction. They just stare off into the trees, alert but not defensive. It keeps getting closer, only a few minutes between each noise. At this point, it's scaring the hell out of us, and we decided right there and then, in the middle of the night, to pack up and leave. I'm taking down the tent and just throwing shit in the car, shining the flashlight to try and catch a glimpse of whatever this thing is. Nothing but trees. It's still getting closer at this point. It sounded like it wasn't more than 15 feet away, and it was loud. I'm drowning the fire and starting the car, and all I can remember it and feeling. It made a sound like it was right behind me, literally felt like a few feet away. I did not turn around. We left in the biggest hurry I have ever been in, talking the whole way back, just trying to make sense of what happened. I've never camped at that spot again. Still to this day, have no idea what it was. I've never heard an animal make that sound before or since. Get a little paranormal one. I was in a garage band after high school, and we were lucky enough to be able to practice record in this huge old abandoned house the state had renovated and turned the upstairs into housing authority offices. Our bass player's grandparents were the only two employees who knew and trusted us and allowed us to use the downstairs rooms for practicing and recording after hours. The house, which was basically a mansion built sometime in the 50s, was a beautiful place with great acoustics. And best of all, we could play and store our equipment absolutely free. However, we always felt like there was a presence of sort, like an odd feeling that just seemed to linger. We ignored it because, as far as we were concerned, we had won the practice space lottery. Over the few years we had played there, mostly at night, there were several experiences we had as a group. However, I had an experience on my own that I cannot explain. We were having a typical jam session one evening, running through some new song ideas and whatnot, when, after a break in the action, I excused myself to use the restroom. The room we were in set up in a large room with a long hallway leading into the garage with a small bathroom at the end of the hall. My drums were set up in front of the entrance with the hallway behind my kit because that's where they sounded the best. I told the guys I had to piss and got up and walked down to the bathroom like I had done countless times before. The band hung out while I started down the dark hallway, eager to get back and play. When I was almost to the bathroom door, something stopped me in my tracks. I froze. Now, this was not the physical thing. I did not feel any touch or any kind of physical force. I can only describe as very abrupt, very angry vibe. It was as if something I could not see was in my face, daring me to take another step. It was the strongest feeling I had ever had in my life. I was shook, but managed to stay calm, and I put my hands up and spoke the word okay. Then turned around and walked back to where the rest of the guys were tuning, talking, and just hanging out waiting on me. I told them that something didn't want anyone to be in the hallway. So I went and used one of the bathrooms upstairs. I tried to explain to them what happened, but couldn't really describe it. To this day, I really have trouble putting it into words what I felt. There was no sound, no physical force, or even a voice in my head. It was just a gut feeling of pure rage, a very clear but disembodied message of do not. I never felt anything anywhere else, and I hope I never do. I want to also be clear that there were no drugs or alcohol involved, as we took our sessions very seriously and weren't there to party. We minded our P's and Q's because we didn't want to risk losing such a great place to play. We did a little research on the place and couldn't find anything that would potentially cause a typical haunting. We eventually moved out of the area and the house became abandoned again some years later. Jimmy, are you still in here? Storm Zombie X, how are you? Jimmy, Andy Davis, what's up, buddy? Something pretty funny. Sorry. Send me it, Delirium, if you could type it out for me. No, Mr. Haunted? Did he leave? The Gray with my boys. What's up, Seaver? How was did you like it? Did they like it? You know what you got to watch? Guys, okay, remember the game I used to play? Zach Teams, how are you? I'm doing well. Remember when I said, like a long time ago, I used to be like, hey, Seaver, I said hi. Remember, I used to be like, hey, guys, you got to watch this movie. Okay, so Delirium, when I interviewed Delirium, I had told him to watch this movie. It's called Project Hex. MK Hex. MK Hex? Yeah, MK Hex. And it's a found footage. It's based on actual events of MK Ultra and other black project government things that were done back in the 50s and 60s and 70s. The movie is amazing. The movie is truly amazing. Good night, Seaver. You guys got to check it out. Was it Project Hex? Project Hex? Hang on. I think it was Project Hex. Project Hex. No. MK Hex. Yes, Project. Okay, it's called Project MK Hex. Project MK Hex. It is the coolest fucking movie. The coolest movie. Delirium is even vouching for it. If you guys want like something cool, it's on Amazon. Add an E to it too. Like MK Ultra. It's Project MK Hex. Good night, Seaver. And it's literally like hex, Hexe. And they'll explain it like hex, like a spell, or like the old German name for witch. And it's almost like the government project keeping like or creating like sleep paralysis and nightmares. Fucking awesome movie. Dude, I don't do shrooms, Seaver. Arabic, if you've seen it, it's so good. Such a good movie. It's literally like a pretty much a B movie, but quality wise and acting wise, everyone is so good in it. So good in it. Craigers! Red Lights is a good movie. I checked it out. You told me about it that night, brother. Such a good movie. Project Hex is so good, though. I cannot talk about it enough. Holy smokes. I'm going to watch it again. Just kidding. No, I am. I've not really told many people about this, though. I've not really told many people about this, so I thought I would share it with you guys. Aramaic! Thank you. Key West lady, you're absolutely right. Right there. All right. I haven't told many people about this, so I thought I would share this in hopes of getting karma. It was summer. I want to say 21, 22. Summer break. I was over at my grandma's. Her and I spent practically the entire day outside helping her weed the garden. A few hours later, at around 3 p.m., I remember telling my grandma I would be right back, since I was going to get something to drink. So I walk in, and I think it's important to note that my granddad was not retired at the time, and there was a gate making sure the dog could not get into the living room. So the rules out excuses, which would be 1. It was my dog upstairs. 2, it was my grandpa upstairs. I go and grab a juice box with the dog standing next to me, and I remember hearing someone or something running upstairs to what seemed like the stairs. To give a better description of my grandparents' house, it is about 100 years old, but quite a bit of the downstairs has been remodeled. The stairs that lead upstairs is nearly in between the kitchen and living room, but more so in the living room. I want to mention, whenever someone walks in the hallway upstairs, you can hear it. Anyway, I heard running toward the stairway from the upstairs. My instincts kick in, and I bolt out of the door. I told my grandma, but she didn't seem to care much. I know it's not just me who has had this happen, because my grandma, grandpa, dad, sister, and myself have all had things happen at this house. Anyway, that's my experience. Sorry for not being so great, but it was scary for me. I'm a freshman in college now, but this happened years ago when I was in 8th grade, and it's something I still think about late at night. One evening, my mom, 2 sisters, and I were coming home from the dollar store and started unloading groceries from the trunk. My sisters went inside first, while my mom and I stayed behind to get the rest. It was around 8 or 9 p.m. late November. For context, our house sits on a hill, deep down some back roads through the woods. Our front yard is a downhill slope with a lot of open space. There are only a few trees scattered around, and on the other side of the driveway, dense woods. The driveway itself, very long. As my mom and I carry the last of the groceries toward the porch, we heard leaves crunching. We both stop and look into the yard. At first, we thought it was a deer. Its head was hidden behind the tree, and it was dark outside, but then it took a few steps backward, moving into the light from our front porch. That's when we realized that it was not a deer. The thing was completely pale, naked, extremely thin, and standing on all fours. It did not have a face. Its head looked like a mannequin. Its body, I can only describe it as looking like the Demogorgon from Stranger Things. It turned its head towards us, then stood on its hind legs. It ran across the yard, over the driveway, and into the woods, the entire time staying upright. It was freakishly tall, so tall that when it crossed the tree line, the tops of the trees shook as it passed. My mom and I ran inside and shut the door. Once inside, we just stared at each other. I asked her, "Did you see that too?" She said, "What did you see?" I told her, and she said she had seen the same thing. We locked our doors and eventually went to bed. The next morning, my mom went back outside to the area where it ran across the driveway, and that's when she saw prints. At first, they looked like deer tracks, but then there was long stride marks between them. And as the tracks continued, the hoof prints slowly turned into something closer to paws. My mom stopped following them after a while. Over the next few days, strange things occurred at night. One time, we had the sliding glass door open that leads to the back porch. Our dogs were standing there growling harshly. My mom and I were trying to figure out what was upsetting them when we heard a loud, distant scream like a howl or a cry mixed together. We rushed the dogs inside and locked the door. Nothing else happened after that, and eventually we moved to another city for unrelated reasons. But whatever that thing was that I saw in the yard that night, whatever left those prints, I hope more than anything, I never have to see it again. Definitely a crawler. One more encounter. Black-eyed kids. I love black-eyed kids. It's not it's the major demon. Yes. 59th, how are you? Jager, it's such a good movie. It really is a good movie. Gregors, thank you, my friend. I'll have to email him tonight and see if he's all right. All right, black-eyed kid experience. I don't know if I'm being paranoid or hallucinating, but today me and my dad were driving through the Mojave to get to LA. It's all desert. It was sunset and we passed by it was sunset and we passed by this white car driving. And I always look at cars when driving because I like looking at who's driving. Anyway, I was looking at the car and saw in the back seat of the car a little boy who was sticking his head out of the window. He was very sickly pale, bald, and I looked at him closely. His eyes were all black, and at first I thought he was wearing contacts or something, but he did not have any whites inside of his eyes, only black. I didn't really get too freaked out from this because I thought maybe he was a cosplayer or something. So did my dad until 10 minutes we passed, and we already passed the car when, in the distance, we see a person just standing in the middle of the road. My dad slowed down and we looked closely at the person because my dad was thinking of giving him a ride when we noticed that this person had the same complexion as the little kid we saw in the back seat of the woman's car. So my dad just went around the person and sped off. He was on the right side because I was in the passenger seat, so I was very close to seeing him. But he just looked at us like there was no emotion. We were talking about it on the way home and now are finally home, but we don't know what type of encounter we just had. We don't know. We don't believe in any paranormal stuff, but we don't know how to feel now because they looked human, but at the same time, they did not like that. They had an eerie look to them, like they were almost dead. The guy in the road looked like a teenager, maybe. Very tall, very skinny, pale, skin like sandpaper white, bald, deep black eyes. We still don't know. Maybe a hitchhiker. Except they didn't have anything with them, just a black long sleeve thin shirt, black sweatpants. I believe like a pajama thin, and didn't move, just stared at the car and was looking at us when we drove off. That's my experience. Thank you. Liz, thank you so much. Liz Sisney, thank you, dear. Long time no see. I'm glad you're here with us tonight. How are you? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Send me another one. I didn't get it. Or actually, I'll email you tomorrow. All right? I'm so glad that you're here with us, Liz. All right. Lot lizard time? It's been about an hour. I think it's time for a lot lizard experience. Good to have you back. Ludicrous Lizzo. All right, here we go. Yes, indeed, it is Lot Lizard time. Lizzo, the Lot Lizard of Oz was such a good one. I really liked how that came out. It was the kind of place where stars felt too close and the silence too loud. A forgotten oasis carved into a cracked slab of Route 66 somewhere in the skeletal wastes of western New Mexico. The Midnight Mirage truck stop wasn't much to look at. A patchwork of rusting trailers, flickering neon, and a kitchen vent that belched the greasy scent of chili fries and the existential dread. But to those who pulled in the long hauled haulers, the runaways, the desperate, and the disinhabited, it was kingdom. And every kingdom needed a queen. Lizzo, full name Lavender Lizzo Rodriguez, sat perched on a chrome fender of a 78 Peterbilt, legs crossed like royalty on a throne made of diesel and defiance. She wore a leopard print jumpsuit, rhinestone sunglasses, even at midnight, and a 6-foot afro that defied gravity, wind, and common sense. She ruled the Mirage with a velvet glove and diamond tipped stilettos. Earl, she called without looking, bring me a Dr. Pepper and stop gawking at Bambi's cleavage. You're married to me. Earl, a burly trucker with a handlebar mustache so thick it had its own zip code, mumbled an apology and shuffled toward the snack counter. He was Lizzo's boy toy, a title he wore with pride, though he occasionally forgot to use his indoor voice when bragging about it at the trucker convos. The lot lizards, the unofficial, fiercely loyal prostitutes of the Mirage, were scattered under the sodium glow. Bambi, the nervous newbie with a penchant for poetry, Tammy, the tank, ex-Marine and part-time arm wrestler, and Delilah, who claimed she could seduce a cactus. In the back, the kitchen crew, Chain-Smoking Lou, the fry cook, and Mama Rhea, who could fry an egg on a forehead during a sandstorm, keep the deep fryer ablaze, and the coffee blacker than sin. This was Lizzo's kingdom, and it was running smoothly until the sky cracked. It wasn't thunder, too metallic, too rhythmic. Then the power died. The neon eats and sleep sign sputtered and died. The jukebox, which had been playing Lizzo's personal favorite, Juice on repeat, choked mid-chorus. Only the diesel generators coughed like a dying T-Rex. Power's out, Lou muttered. Again, coyotes chewing on the cables. But then something dropped from the roof. It was not a coyote. It was a creature, roughly 5 foot tall, with leathery, molded wings folded like broken umbrella, eyes like marbles dipped in motor oil, and teeth like shattered windshield glass. It landed on all fours, hissed, and then unfurled, standing upright with a sound like Velcro tearing. Holy shit, Earl whispered. Is that Bat Boy? Lizzo adjusted her sunglasses. Who? Bat Boy, from the Inquirer, 1988. They said he was a government experiment. They kept him in a bunker in New Mexico. He feeds on testosterone. Tammy the tank snorted. Oh crap, sounds like my last boyfriend. But then the creature moved. It lunged at Bambi, who was mid-sigh over a Leonard Cohen lyric. It snatched her by her ankle and dragged her into the shadows near the fuel pumps. There was a wet crunch like a bag of chips in a garbage disposal, and then silence. Then Bat Boy emerged, wiping viscous goo off his chin. Okay, Lizzo said, standing slowly. That's a health code violation. Panic erupted. Delilah screamed and sprinted into the ladies' room. Tammy tried to fight swinging a tire iron, but Bat Boy dodged, bit her pinky off, and tossed it into the dumpster like a greasy olive. Run! Earl hollered. To the diner! Lock the doors! They scrambled inside. Lizzo slammed the metal shutters. Bat Boy screeched outside, clawing at the glass. It wants us, Mama Ria said, stirring a pot of beans like it was a cauldron of war magic. But why here? Why us? Lizzo lit a menthol cigarette. Simple. He's been in a government lab for 30 years. Probably saw nothing but white coats, concrete, and bad cable TV. Now he's out. And what's the first thing he sees? Us, Earl said. No, sweetie. Choice. He's got a menu now. Lou blinked. You think Bat Boy's picking off our crew like dinner selections? Exactly, Lizzo said, exhaling smoke through her nose like a dragon at a salon. He's not just hungry, he's curious. He wants flavor. And it's like appetizers. Tammy clutched her bandaged hand. So what are we going to do? We can't call the cops. Half of us are wanted in 3 states. Lizzo smiled. We don't need cops. We got resources. She stood, marched to the jukebox, and punched in a song. The opening bass line of Truth Hurts thumped through the walls. What the hell? Earl said. Bat Boy's got heightened senses, right? Super hearing, super smell. Let's overload that system. She turned to Mama Ria. I need your hard chest chili. The one that clears the sinuses and souls. Lou, fry me 6 extra crispy chicken tenders. Earl, get the strobe light from your rig. Tammy, rig the fire extinguishers to pop on my signal. We're going to fight them with sensory assault. Delilah peeked from the bathroom. Honey, Lizzo purred. I run the truck stop. I lived sensory assault. They worked fast. Mama Ria boiled a vat of hell jizz chili. Her signature blend of ghost peppers, expired sriracha, and motor oil, she swears add character. The chicken tenders were double breaded, triple fried, and dusted with paprika, and could strip paint. Earl hooked up the strobe light to a car battery. Tammy set the extinguishers like Claymore in the parking lot. Then Lizzo put her final touch, a glittering cowboy hat and a Bluetooth speaker strapped to her hip. At 2:17 a.m., she stepped outside. Bat Boy was crouched on the roof of a semi, lapping at Bambi's discarded boot like it was a juice box. Hey, you, Lizzo shouted. You want manliness, testosterone? You want a real American snack? The creature cocked its head. She hit play. Lizzo's good as hell erupted from the speaker, bass thumping, vocals soaring. Simultaneously, Earl flipped the strobe. The lot lit up with a pulsing white flash, disorienting, aggressively rave-like. Bat Boy shrieked, wings flaring. Then Lizzo hurled a bucket of chili. It splattered across his chest. He howled, not in rage, but confusion. The ghost peppers hit his sensitive skin like acid. Then came the chicken tenders, 6 of them, launched via slingshot by Tammy. One of them hit him square right in the mouth. He chewed, swallowed, and then he groaned, not in pain, in pleasure. Oh, no, Earl whispered. He likes it. He adores it, Lizzo said. He's a government experience, raised on gray and boredom. He's never had flavor. Bat Boy dropped to all 4s, whining like a puppy who discovered bacon. He crawled toward the diner door. Lizzo didn't flinch. She opened the door, and behind her stood Mama Ria holding a ladle full of fresh chili. Lou with a basket of onion rings. Tammy with a plate of meatloaf so dense it could stop a bullet. Come on in, sugar, Lizzo said, voice smooth as bourbon. You've had the appetizers. Now how about dinner? Bat Boy paused, sniffing, then slowly stood. Not to attack, but to enter. They fed him 4 helpings of chili, a whole chicken fried steak, 2 pies, and 3 Dr. Peppers. When he was full, Bat Boy curled up under a booth, belched a small flame, and fell asleep, wings wrapped around him like a bat-shaped burrito. Is he tamed? Delilah asked. Nope, Lizzo said, lighting another menthol. He's employed. By dawn, the Midnight Mirage had a new attraction. The sign hung over the entrance, now featuring Bat Boy. Live weekend $5 cover, includes free chili. Bat Boy, now wearing a tiny trucker hat and a bib that read, I love New Mexico, performed short shriek shows, signed tiny autographs with claw prints, and helped Mama Maria stir the chili pot, only on low heat. Earl drove the circuit, spreading the word. Come and see the mutant government bat boy who ate 3 truckers and now sings along with Dolly Parton. Business boomed. The FBI came once. Lizzo met him at the door with a plate of jalapeno poppers and a smile. He's not a menace, she said. He's catering. They left. One agent vomited in the parking lot. And Lizzo, she still sat on her Peterbilt throne, ruling her kingdom of grease, grit, and glorious bad decisions. Because in the desert, under a sky full of stars and secrets, the only law was survival, and the only queen worth following. Lizzo, the undisputed empress of the lot lizards, the high priestess of the highway hustle, and a woman who tamed Bat Boy with flavor. As she liked to say, sipping Dr. Pepper under the neon, hate, jealousy, government experiments, they all crumble when you serve a good chicken tender. Bat Boy from the 80s. It's Monday morning's interview, Marcy. It's titled Subscriber Shares Face-to-Face Experience and Video Included. Thank you, Maggie Mayhem. I do remember that one. Not yet, Truth Quest. Thanks, SDL. What's up, Wiley? Agent Scully would be fun to work with. I didn't get your email, Johnny. I did not get your email. Rosie, thank you so much. Smitty, thank you so much. Great shirt, great band. Will you send me, can you try to resend it right now to me, please? So we're here and I can read it and respond. Craigers! Guys, wow, thank you. You guys are being too fucking kind. Thank you. Did I? I don't think I did get it. There's John Sumner. There's Conscious Wanderer. I got the email open, so when you resend it, I'll check and immediately respond. I moved to Minnesota about 6 months ago. It's a pretty cold state. More or less, I love it here. It's very peaceful, and when it snows, it's really beautiful. However, my image of Minnesota was changed last night. Me, my mom, my stepdad were all sitting down watching a movie in the living room. As the movie was about to end, we paused it because my mom wanted to go smoke, and I needed to use the bathroom. Once I'm back from using the bathroom, I go and sit down with my dad. A few seconds later, my mom opens the patio door and yells for us to get out here. We rush outside. She tells us that she started hearing noises of something big walking in the snow. When she started to look around for where the noise was coming from, about 40 feet away was a white trailer. She said that when she looked over there, she saw something with red eyes staring at her. She said that it looked like a really big dog. At first, my stepdad said that it was probably a coyote. Then I started to think on how my mom heard a coyote walking in the snow 40 to 50 feet away. I realized that it had to have been something very large. I've always been one to believe in paranormal things, my mom not so much. We look around a bit longer and then go back inside. A few hours later, I leave my room to go and grab a soda so I can continue playing Halo. After the whole event, I've had this unshakable feeling, so I decide to look outside to reassure myself she wasn't seeing things. As my eyes scanned the edge of the woods, I don't really see anything. I take a deep breath, grab the soda, and close the fridge. As I close the door, I glimpse out the window and freeze. Sure enough, I see a pair of red eyes peering at me through the trees. I couldn't see much because of how dark it was. It was around 3 a.m., but I know what I saw. I saw something that I have never seen before. Those red eyes went right through me. Then, as quick as I had seen them, they disappeared. What the hell did I see? Conscious, happy late birthday, my friend. Happy late birthday. For some context, I live in rural northwest Arkansas. I was in the back seat of a car riding through the woods this past December when I saw it. It was very tall, walking on all fours, but its hind legs brought its rear up a good foot above its head. I would say it was about as tall as a person. It was very thin and bony. It looked like it had grayish blue pale skin all over its body. It was walking just behind the tree line on the side of the road. The car was going about 40 on a straight road, so I had a solid few seconds to stare at this thing before we passed it. I know it was not an optical illusion. I saw the thing clear as day. My family said it may have been a deer with chronic wasting, but it was much taller than any deer I have ever seen, and its body wasn't shaped like a deer at all. It had a humanoid face that I can't really describe other than looking like some sort of small animal head, but with something wrong with it, like a sickly gray, emaciated. There were no antlers, just a freaky face. Its mouth was hanging open with solid black eyes. It was honestly terrifying, and it still has me pretty freaked out. I've been trying to figure out what it was that I have seen, but have not found anything or anyone who has seen something similar. My closest guess was that it might be a possible crawler that people talk about. Thanks for letting me share. Let me check. Let me check here. Johnny Ohm. Got it, buddy. Got it. Calling wife. I'm going to check this out, man. That's pretty cool. I definitely do want to hear your experiences too, my friend. Definitely have to check it out. All right. No, owls can't have inner glowing red eyes. Definitely not. I know Conscious Wanderer had a good time on his birthday. He was zootered up when he emailed me. He was all boozed up, going to Mount Shasta to gather some snow. Old Conscious Wanderer. Ugh. Just for the sake of research. On the night before my first day of seventh grade, I was drifting off to sleep, but was partially woken by an odd feeling. It's like my brain wanted me to pay attention to something, but I couldn't figure out what it was until I noticed a sort of clicking sound. It took me a few minutes to figure out what it sounded like. The claws of a large animal clicking against the hardwood floor of the dining room as it walked. It sounded like a large dog walking slowly and getting closer. It stopped right outside of my open door. My instincts told me I should not turn around and look. I shouldn't move at all and held my breath. I heard it breathing heavily, that wet breathing from large dogs. I heard it lick its lips, the shift positioned occasionally. I don't know how long I lied there for, waiting for it to move away, but eventually I did drift off to sleep, still hearing its breathing. Weird dream, right? I thought so until today. In a conversation about hauntings and strange occurrences, my stepbrother mentioned that there was a time a dog man in the house on the night before the first day back to school one year. The year I entered seventh grade and he entered eighth. Apparently, that night he heard something as well. And unlike me, he saw something. He remembers hearing the clicking too and thinking a stray dog had somehow gotten inside our house, despite the house being locked. He heard it walk through the dining room and down the hallway, then stop outside of my door. Then eventually he heard it move on toward his room. When it got to his door, he was watching. Though it was dark, he faintly saw a silhouette of a person appear in his doorway. Sure, the dark was simply playing tricks on him. He stared for a while more, thinking his eyes would eventually adjust and he could see clearly. He wasn't sure whatever was there was staring back at him. Eventually, he quietly said, "Hey," to the figure in the doorway, and it silently disappeared. He ran to the door and looked down the hall, finding nothing there. He used his phone as a torch and searched the entire house aside from our parents' room. As the door was closed, he peeked into my room and saw me sleeping, so he assumed I had slept through the entire thing. He checked that the front and back doors were both locked and that no windows were open. Finding nothing out of place and no strange person or dog anywhere in the house, he went back to bed. Neither of us had ever spoken about it until this day. I thought I had been dreaming. He had convinced himself he had heard these odd noises from outside and thought they were inside. And the figure in his doorway was just his eyes playing tricks on him in the dark. It wasn't until we compared our experiences and found we had heard the same exact thing on the same exact night that we realized it may not have or a noise from the outside or some trick of the light. This indeed was real. I just give up on this. Yeah, they migrate, but not really. They just like I'm not like Bigfoot. Bigfoot follows food. Bigfoot will more or less follow the food in the cold. Dogmen are just like I don't know. They just move because they can, you know. Years ago, around the time of the pandemic 2020, I was living in another city. I'm from Caracas, Venezuela. And at the time, I was staying at my grandparents' house in Trillo State with my mom and her family. One cold, lonely night, I remember there was a moon. I often went to the top of my grandparents' house, which was a higher point where I could get a signal to connect to the internet. I would go into the little house that belonged to my uncle of mine who died in an accident, and I would stay there for hours watching videos and just browsing. That night, I remember I was there at around 3 in the morning when I felt something fall off the roof. It was a loud noise, and I remember that after the sound, I heard what sounded like someone walking on the roof, since it was made of zinc sheets. I got a little scared, but I suppressed my fear. I remember not paying attention and started to watch the videos again. After a while, there were taps on the roof, like someone was gently knocking at a door. I remember it was very being a daring person I am, grabbed the stick and hit the ceiling hard, saying, "Don't mess with me," and started laughing like a movie villain. Then I remember going outside and looking up at the ceiling and seeing a large black bird that looked like a vulture or a buzzard, as it's known in Venezuela. I said, "What the hell is that?" And I suddenly turned away. I didn't run. I don't know, but I don't think you should show fear with these creatures. It's worth noting that they had done the same thing to me many times before to a lesser extent. It was nothing more than hitting the ceiling, and that was it. And I'd leave calmly after a while, but this was the last straw. Days after the incident, I went to my usual spot to get the signal. That night was incredibly quiet. I stood outside my deceased uncle's little house. After a while, I felt something fall on the roof again, even harder. And it started walking all over the roof, circling around. I was terrified. I felt cold, but I told myself, don't even think about running. I stayed there waiting to see what would happen next. Then I felt the thing on the roof start walking until it was right above me. Poking at the roof, couldn't take it anymore. So I turned off my phone and walked to my grandparents' house, which was 20 meters away. After that, I didn't want to go back to my house. I didn't want to find out what else might happen. Anyway, I don't know what this thing was. It was definitely large and scary and always bothered me. There has been a lot of talk of witches as well in this area. So, myself and my friend are encountering cryptids or whatever you want to call them. It's starting to freak us out. It's been happening for months. This is our most recent encounter. Me and my friend were out in a barn washing her horse's hair. It was about 10 o'clock at night. Don't ask why we were washing the hair at this time, but when we tied him up, he kept looking at a certain area. I kind of tried to push it off, but it kept bothering me the whole time we were out there. My friend said she didn't notice anything, but all of her animals were really focused on this one part of the barn. So I was kind of scared. But then me and my boyfriend ended up getting into a fight, so I completely forgot about it until it came to leave. So we hopped off of her golf cart. We were going to take a lap around the pond, but then she saw something over the fence line. I didn't see it, but she was freaked out, and I've never seen her freaked out over something like this before. So we go and park the golf cart, and we were turning everything off. But then we hear a loud, blood-curdling scream. And when I tell you, me and her bolted to the house. We bolted. It scared the living shit out of me and her, especially since we had been seeing things every single day. We go out to her barn and every time hang out. After that, I called my friend that is really big into paranormal. She actually the person that got me into the paranormal stuff. But I called her and told her about everything, and she does not know. So that's why I'm trying to share this. Also, we have been seeing different types of these things, like one that I've been seeing around 6 feet tall, brown with skinny legs. Its spine sticks out and also has ears that are brown, and its jaw, it's usually wide open, almost like it's detached. Anyway, that's my experience. Thank you. Damn. Crawler. Brown, though. I don't know. Spot. I don't know. Crawler, maybe it was brown because I just couldn't see it. It was dirty. Samara, how are you? Red, thank you so much. Long time no see. Glad that you're here with us tonight. Red Robin. All right, let me think of a song. Let me think of a song. Let me think of a song. Here we go. Oh, you guys got it. You guys got it. I have heard of this sort of thing, but only briefly. I have never really thought too much of it, nor have I ever done any reasonable research. This is a very odd story of how I came to see a literal dogman 3 nights ago at around midnight. I live in a neighborhood, by the way, but we are way on the edge of a large forest behind our house, so not completely rural. Funny part of the experience. So I set up a live trap for a mouse last night, catch and release. I can't stand to harm anything. It triggered at midnight, and a loud pop of the door woke me up. I decided I didn't want to just leave it in the cage all night waiting for morning. I could hear him trying to chew through the wires and didn't want to torture himself or get hurt attempting to get out. So I decided to just take him outside and immediately release the mouse into the yard. But I go into the forested area. I'm not cruel enough just to release him by someone else's house, thus causing them to have a mouse problem, right? Before I even get to my car to transport this little mouse, my stomach begins hurting like never before. It was a horrible, foreboding feeling that was almost telling me something terrible was going to happen. There was no reason for my stomach to just suddenly start screaming in pain. I essentially never have stomach problems. It's exceedingly rare. I just don't get stomach aches. But it was painful on the scale that it was so strange. I kept getting this deep sense that something was wrong. I get into my car with the little mouse cage going down the street. It was literally only 1 block away from my home that I instantly slowed the brakes because of something enormous at the side of the road. At first, I thought, well, that's got to be the tallest dog I've ever seen. Its silhouette was blacker than night. As I slowed my car from 20 to came out into the street light and walked across the street in front of my car. It was not running, but it was not going slow either. I suddenly realized that this was no ordinary dog, but I knew that it was not a bear because it did not have much of a belly. This was 3 or 4 times the size of a wolf, and I can confirm that it was not a wolf. What I saw looked much like a humanoid, literally hunched over on all fours, back erect in a hunch, moving with a pace across the road. The head was distinctly wolf like and enormous, literally looked like a giant wolf head. The being had jet black fur, as black as hair can get. The legs were lanky. My brain literally froze. Instantly, I began rationalizing, but it was fairly impossible to rationalize what I had seen. Closest thing I can compare it to, the werewolf from Harry Potter, Professor Lupin. Linked there, all I can think of was, how did they know? That's nearly identical to the thing that looks like a hunched over walking on all fours. It was horrifying. It was literally quite accurate to looking like the exact CGI rendering. On all fours, its backside probably 4.5 feet in height, head higher, easily reaching 5.5. Again, there was no way this was a bear or any other regular beast we are familiar with as humans. There was nothing familiar about it to anyone who would say maybe it was just a really large dog that was sick and hunched over. Definitely not. It was bigger than the largest dog breed I have ever seen. To be over 4 feet in height at the back, not the head, while hunched over, definitely not a regular dog. Impossible to be a bear, as none are this skinny. The humanoid aspect of it could not be denied. You could tell that if it wanted to, it could easily stand on 2 legs. What's more insane is that I could feel its energy. The energy was dark, oppressive, and really just a sense of danger swept over me. It had a very otherworldly energy about it. To continue, I slowly continued driving and quickly started over to the left side of the road as I was passing to see where this thing had gone. I was able to see the silhouette in the brush, looking back at me, watching me pass. I did not want to stop. I was scared. I went on with my mission to release this little mouse, but I can tell you this. When I got home, I ran into the garage and shut the garage door as quickly as possible. I was panicking, truly terrified. When you know what you saw, you know what you saw. They always say, I also know my mind didn't just want to fill in blanks or hallucinate this. Last night I looked up stories of Dogman, only to find people's descriptions and drawings were fairly identical to what I had seen. What are the odds of that? Now I am convinced it was real. I never thought in my wildest dreams I would see something like this. Does anyone know how common Oregon sightings are? And has anyone ever heard of an Oregon coast sighting? I am curious. Thank you. Ow. What's up, King? How are you? Janie, you're going to bed? Have a good night, dearie. No, it stayed about the same conscious. It stayed about right where it sounded like, "What's up, Life of Times? How are you, my friend?" I am feeling better. Thank you for asking, King Oz. Glenn, you're leaving tonight? Good seeing you. Thank you for popping in tonight, my friend. I should grow a goatee. I'm trying the whole naked face look right now. It feels weird. It was cold snow blowing today, though. I was like, dang, I don't like this too much. Ugh. No, Red's not staying. Red's not leaving. She's staying in for the night. I just read through that whole stack. I can't believe we went through that many encounters already. Ugh. Andy Davis, have a good night. Have fun with the kids. Watch Project MK Hex tomorrow with them if you can. Tell them to be good for their dad. Zilla, what's up? How are you? I know. I'm knocking them out tonight. Oh, this is a good one. This is one of my favorite Dogman encounters. I don't know why I like this one so much, but I do. Haha, yeah, buddy. I'm doing well, Zill. How about you? Well, you just said fine. All right. It was during my third deployment to Iraq. The platoon had taken up residence in 2 houses in a village several miles outside of Haditha. One night, I heard our translator having a heated discussion with 2 local men. I grabbed my gear and my rifle and walked out to the road to investigate. I asked the translator what's going on. He tells me that these 2 men are crazy and assures me that they are not dangerous. I asked what they wanted, and he mumbles about them being superstitious or something along those lines. He assures me that everything is okay and my attention is not needed. It took a bit of prying, but the translator finally says that they are having Wolfman problems. But they are afraid that if they shoot it, the local troops will be alarmed and attack their homes. They tell us that this Wolfman has been coming around late at night and has already killed a few of their sheep, and they are worried that it's going to start attacking their family soon. So I assume somewhere in translation, the word dog has turned into wolf and is somehow being conveyed to me by the translator as wolf man. So I try to clarify. Do they mean a dog? The translator, a bit hesitant, almost like he is embarrassed that his countrymen are wasting everyone's time by believing such nonsense, but they are adamant that their house is being besieged by a wolf man. Again, I ask if it's a big dog, and no, it is a wolf man. So I ask if there are wolves in Iraq, and they are all in agreement that yes, there are wolves in Iraq, but there are no wolves in this part of the country, and it is not a wolf or a large dog that has been killing their sheep. It is a wolf man. The translator is trying to usher them away, but at this point, I am very intrigued and a bit confused over the whole dog wolf man thing. So I ask them to describe what they are seeing. They tell me that every few nights it comes around. They first see it on 4 legs as it sulks around the small compound, but then it stands up like a man walking on 2. It growls and it has lunged at the men, but as they retreat, it turns its attention to the sheep. Their own dogs refusing to help protect humans or sheep. They tell me the creature had been killed. They tell me the creature has killed a few of the sheep and that one of the bodies ripped apart and with portions of it eaten away. They have been hesitant to shoot for fear of the troops' involvement. The translator says that he has heard of such a creature, and even though this type of story has been spread through the area by various people, it has no more than superstitions or delusions. He assures me that there is no such thing as a wolf man. I tell the two men that they should feel free and protect themselves and their livestock, and my interest is piqued. I should get the men to agree to allow us to stop them from time to time and set up an observation post while we are on patrol. A couple nights later, I join night patrol and we head toward the house. We are greeted by one of the men and he gives us entry to his compound. We go onto the roof and set up our sentries to overlook the bridge. About an hour later, the homeowner comes up with a panicked look on his face. He's talking very fast, excitement and concern in his voice and body language. He is wanting me to come with him. I tell two others to come with me, and we all follow the man. He leads us to the other side of the house, and we exit into an enclosed courtyard where the sheep are being kept. The sheep are making plenty of noise, and the man's pointing to a dark corner of the yard. I strain my eyes to see what he's pointing at. Finally, I see it. A large wolf/dog standing in the corner. I ask the other two guys with me if they see it as well, and they both agree that it is a wolf or a dog. It moved behind the small sections of the wall. I could hear it popping and crackling. The joints and knuckles are being cracked. When it stepped out from behind the wall, it was upright on two legs, shifty and effortlessly jumped the perimeter of the wall, and we could hear it running away on 2 feet. I conveyed to my men as best as I could, if that thing ever showed up again, feel free to shoot it. Stacy Face, I'm doing well. How about you? Ow. They that's the end of it because they ended up leaving. Those troops left, so he didn't know. I can remember almost every little detail of this crazy experience me and my friend had in the woods that still sends shivers down my spine when I think about them. Back in May of 2020, when the COVID first shut down the schools, I was a senior in high school, and me and one of my friends would hang out at their house almost every day. This friend lived in a nice little town, South Jersey, and lived in a small neighborhood. The neighborhood was really just two sides of the street that connected at the top and made a rectangle, and behind it was all woods and no houses in sight for miles, except for a small side trail that led to another small neighborhood off to the right. One night at around mid-May, we were chilling. I remember seeing a skateboard in their garage and wanted to learn how to ride one. So I grabbed it and went back to the connected street light at the wood line. And there was a small hill in the road to get practice. When I got to the hill, which was only about a 2-minute walk, I noticed a path in between the two houses on the back of the street and was curious what the trail was. Then I kept practicing going down the hill and ended up hitting the smallest pebble known to mankind and fracturing my wrist. Fast forward a day and following night, I brought up the path into the woods and asked my friend, have they ever been back there? And their response was somewhere along the lines of, yeah, I go for walks back there at least twice a week. We both thought it would be fun, a little adventure, but all I can say now is it was going to be a complete opposite. We both brought a small handheld flashlight and didn't use them to be completely didn't use them until we passed both houses on each side of the trail entrance. And like I mentioned earlier, there is a side trail that led to another neighborhood, and we didn't feel like going there. We decided to go off the trail and go deeper into the woods, another decision that would turn on us later. After walking deep for about 5 minutes, we heard what sounded like something was crunching the branches and leaves behind us and in front of us. We both stopped and shined our lights in the direction and saw nothing, both thinking that it was a deer or something. After that, we decided to go in a new direction, away from the crunching. In another 5 minutes, we heard that same crunching noise in front of us and behind us again. Shining our lights again, we saw nothing, and at that moment, it started to rain slightly. Both of us, being a little creeped out, knew something or someone was down there with us. I had a bad feeling and said quietly, "We need to get out of here ASAP." But our dumbasses went off the path twice, and we finally got back to the original path. All I remember was hearing the same crunching noises and sticks and leaves behind us again. At this point, it started to rain pretty hard. We started to speed walk, and the next second, I decided to turn around and look. And all I saw was 4 flashlights coming right up at us, almost running. After that, we started to full-on sprint and somehow managed to run right past the exit of the trail, back to the road of the neighborhood. We were finally about ready to try and climb one of the house's fences to get out of there, but me, with a fractured wrist, wasn't going to do that too well. So the only other way was to run back towards those lights. And surprisingly, they weren't there. They were gone. We got to a small sense of relief, but we're still a little freaked out. I ended up being the first one off the trail on the road, and my friend decided to casually walk. I kept telling them to move faster. The next second, all I see is 4 separate flashlights running again, coming behind my friend. And that's when I yelled to run. And luckily they did. I remember full-on sprinting down the street, going around the corner. I turned around to see what I looked like 3 to 4 people standing at the entrance, not moving. Mainly seeing them with the dim street light gave off enough light to make out some of the figures. We ran back to their house, locked the doors, and felt relief knowing we were safe. To this day, I refuse to ever go back on that trail again. I wonder who or what those things were and what their intentions were. Me and my friend started to talk and give solutions of who or what they were. If they were cops, they wouldn't have announced themselves. And why would they be deep into the woods with no cop cars around? So immediately eliminated that. No one followed us back down there since. The noises were first in front of us, but couldn't have been another group from the side trail because we would have seen them coming down. Whoever or whatever it was most definitely already down there before us and had been watching us for quite some time. Not a single word from them was spoken, and they were chasing us. I still strongly believe to this day whoever they were definitely didn't have good intentions if they were actually going to get us. Sorry, this might be a lot, but I haven't really talked about this to too many people without fear of judgment. Thank you again for hearing my Dogman or cryptid experience. I do not believe these things were people. I think it was people. But they saw 3 or 4 people standing near the entrance. I think it was people. I grew up in Burleson, Texas. So not far from where this happened, I decided to Google whether any reports had come out about flying human-like gargoyles that dove at us one night. It came from a tree, this huge dark figure. Even though it was nighttime, the house's lights from the garage lit it up. We were running, terrified, and the sound of this massive wings above us was so loud we ducked, thinking it was going to try and pick us up. This happened back in 1984. My ex-boyfriend, who still remembers it vividly, later joined the Marines and eventually retired as fire chief in the area. He doesn't waver in his story either. I am now a demonologist, not because of this experience, but I have always wondered if anyone else saw this besides us. We never reported it because our own parents didn't quite know what to make of it. They kept insisting that it was an owl, but we saw a human-sized creature with dark skin. Its wings sounded like what I imagine to be a pterodactyl's to sound like. Now, as a empath demonologist, I've encountered a demon that seemed similar, but it was within a person and only I could see it. However, the others could hear a howl. Another demonologist once told me there are werewolves out in these parts, but this thing had a wingspan much larger than anything I've ever seen. I'm 56 years old now, and I can still hear that sound above my head and my friend's head. It happened days ago. I truly felt like we were going to be taken. So terrifying. Neckbeard, one of my favorite words, neckbeard. Cougars know what to do. Cougars are dirty, dirty, dirty birdies. Tipping the fedora. They always talk like this when they find a girl they like. They're like, hello, me lady. They have a cane. They live in their mom's basement and they smell like really fucking bad BO. Let's go to the comic book convention tonight. We'll play some cosplay, me lady. Ooh, what's that? What's that? Oh my God, you're so fast! Why would you drive your fucking Camaro out in the middle of a snowstorm like that? What a dick face. He couldn't even get fucking any traction. What a toolbox. You saw a very own neckbeard before Life and Times? I don't know. Rear wheel drive. I drifted my WRX like today. It was pretty fun. My lady. Throw them in the ocean. No, because then they would just sob up the ocean. The ocean would look like it was been slicked over. Because they're all greasy. They're like a neckbeard probably smells like a greasy Lizzo fart. A big old shart. Rockin' steady, how are you? Ugh. Took baths once a week. Ew. Yeah, but it would take too long to do. It would be too big of a hassle. I'd have to figure out like something, a better way of doing it, because then people would want to talk for more than 5 minutes and I'd feel bad hanging up on people, you know? I don't know. You know what's even scarier than a neck beard? An androgynous neck beard. A fucking androgynous neck beard. Ooh. Whew. I got cold chills just saying it. Damn. All right, we're going to do this experience and then we're going to do the last Lizzo story. Here's an experience that happened to me, and I swear what I saw was real. This took place sometime between 2010 and 2013 on my birthday in Mission, Texas. I had thrown a huge party that night. Lots of guests came over. I lived in a small apartment, so only a few people stayed overnight. I gave up my room for my relatives, while my brother and a friend and I slept in the living room. My parents and a couple of cousins stayed in my parents' room. At around 4 a.m., I woke up in the bathroom. On my way back, for some random reason, I decided to peek into my parents' room. Their room has 2 windows facing outside. I hope they're facing outside. Jesus Christ. Wouldn't it be weird having a window facing your living room? Like, what the fuck? But one of them, right next to their bed, looks directly into the backyard. Outside, right under that window, there is a table. A street lamp from the alley behind the apartment shone directly onto it. Because of that, anything that moved or climbed onto that table would cast a clear shadow against the curtained side room. As I looked toward the window, I suddenly saw something leap onto the table. It stayed there for just a couple of seconds before jumping off. But the thing I saw was not an animal. It looked humanoid. It was around 3 feet tall, hunched over, with long, stretched out arms. Its legs were thin and bent oddly, with one foot positioned in front of the other. Then, in a quick motion, it leapt off the table, just like a kangaroo would. I stood there, frozen, unable to believe what I had just seen. Yes, it had been my birthday that day, but I was only 14 or 16. I did not drink or smoke, and to this day, I still don't. So I know I was completely sober. What I saw was real. The best way I can describe the creature? Imagine seeing Gollum from Lord of the Rings. All right. Here is the last Lizzo story of the night, my friends. We are going to end this with a Lizzo story. Are you ready? It was a sweltering night at the Buzzkill truck stop in Fleabag Motel, where the neon sign flickered like a dying disco ball and the scent of burnt grease mingled with desperation and cheap perfume. This was the kingdom of Lizzo, not the singer, mind you. This Lizzo stood 6'2" in stiletto everything and ruled over this truck stop shadow economy with a golden lasso, a laser lip gloss, and the aura of unshakable confidence. She wasn't just a lot lizard. She was the lot lizard, the high priestess of high beams, the queen of come hither and come behind. Her loyal subjects, prostitutes, fry cooks, and the occasional rogue raccoon paid homage in cigarettes, dollar bills, and heartfelt compliments. Her throne, a weathered vinyl bench outside the grimy bathroom at Pump 3. There she held court every night, dispensing wisdom like, honey, if he's driving a Kenworth, he's mismatched hubcaps, he's either a liar or a widower, either upcharge or just not do it. On this particular night, Earl, her most trusted trucker ally, a grizzled man with a beard like a bristle brush and a heart of surprising soft tofu, rolled in at 2 a.m., smelling like Waffle House and existential dread. Lizzo, he whispered, peering over his aviators. We got trouble, big trouble. Saw a black limo with a cigar shaped headlights pull in. Driver looked like he bathes in villainy. Lizzo's arched her brow. Ain't seen a limo since that time Dolly Parton's cousins tried to open a karaoke brothel. Sounds suspicious. Then the air shimmered. A dry ice fog poured from the limo's undercarriage. Two figures emerged. First came Dr. Evil, complete with bald head, lab coat, monocle, and a mustache so villainous it practically curled upward on its own accord. Behind him, Mini-Me, a tiny clone wearing a shrunken version of the same outfit, munching on a baby Ruth like it was a turkey leg. Greetings, peasants, Dr. Evil boomed, his voice like a fax machine having a nervous breakdown. I am Dr. Evil, and this adorable, genetically engineered mini messiah, Mini-Me. We are here to take over this truck stop as part of my global domination scheme. Phase 1, control the truckers' trade routes. Phase 2, ransom the Dorito supply. In Phase 3, world peace on my terms. Lizzo did not budge. She took a long drag from her glittery e-cig, shaped like a saxophone. Darling, you ever trying to run a truck stop? She asked, tapping her ash. The havoc alone gives you nightmares. Also, honey, you smell like burnt hair and bad decisions. Sit down and order a coffee before you embarrass yourself. Dr. Evil fumed. I am not here to be sassed by a woman who monetizes loneliness. Minnie giggled and threw the baby Ruth wrapper at Earl, who caught it and ate it out of habit. But Dr. Evil was not joking. With a snap of his fingers, goons in biohazard suits, definitely not henchmen, swarmed the lot. They replaced the soda machine with one that only dispensed lukewarm root beer. They installed mood lighting that screamed tax audit. They even replaced the Wi-Fi password with submit to evil 69. Worse, they banned tip dancing near the fuel pumps. Lizzo's court was in chaos. The employees hissed like cats in the car wash. Earl sobbed into a greasy napkin. The raccoon union went on strike. But Lizzo, ever the queen, knew it was time to fight back. She rallied her forces. Earl, she declared, standing atop of the payphone. You're on distraction. Hit the air horn like your ex-wife just texted. We need to talk. Got it, Earl said, wiping his tears. I've been practicing that. Tootsie Lou, Lizzo barked at her second in command, a woman who could dislocate her shoulders and sneak a wallet out of a moving semi. You handle the payroll. We're going underground. Find every dime of illicit snack machine revenue. We fund the rebellion in Funyuns. Already on it, Tootsie Lou whispered, slipping into the darkness with a Ziploc bag of contraband beef jerky. Lizzo herself would confront the tyrants head on, but first, armor. She donned her her battle gear, a rhinestone-studded trench coat, knee-high boots with built-in pepper spray, and a handbag containing a mace, switchblade, and a half-eaten corn dog for morale. She marched into the truck stop diner, the newly renamed Evil Eats, where satisfaction is mandatory, and found Dr. Evil cackling over a spreadsheet. Ah, Lizzo, he sneered. I've been crunching the numbers with proper automation and removal of workers' rights. This stop could generate $5 a month in increased profits. You mean you could, Lizzo said, tapping her foot. Meanwhile, my girls are crying because the new stall doors won't lock. That's not business, Sugar. That's inhumane. Dr. Evil shrugged. I am the opposite of human. I invented the concept. Minnie laughed, then sneezed directly into a bowl of chili. That was the final straw. Lizzo lunged. Dr. Evil whipped out the death ray keychain, but Lizzo deflected it with her handbag. Thwack! Sending that beam into the ceiling, where it vaporized a poster of a smiling turkey holding a drumstick. Earl, true to form, rammed his semi into the side of the building, blasting Man, I Feel Like a Woman at full volume. The vibration shattered the moonlighting and caused Mini-Me to drop his Baby Ruth in shock. Tootsie Lou emerged from the vents, flickering Funyuns like ninja stars. One hit Dr. Evil square in the monocle. He yelped, and chaos erupted. Lizzo tackled Dr. Evil into a self-serve soda fountain. Root beer sprayed everywhere. Mini-Me tried to help by biting Earl's ankle, but Earl responded by stuffing him whole into a large pretzel bag and zipping it shut. Sorry, little guy, Earl muttered, but you should have picked a better daddy. Dr. Evil, now soaked and monocleless, scrambled to his limo. This isn't over. I still have my layer, my sharks with frickin' laser beams and tennis. We'll regroup. Oh, no, you don't, Lizzo said, grabbing him by the collar. You don't come to my house and mess with my girls and try to automate the beef jerky machine and get a clean getaway. She dragged him to Earl's semi. The back door swung open. Inside, a single, empty 55-gallon drum labeled Biohazard, do not open. Seriously, we mean it. You're shipping him? Earl said. Only way to send a message, Lizzo said. Next stop, Tijuana, via the scenic route. Dr. Evil screamed as she shoved him in. Then she paused. Wait. She reached into the pretzel bag. Mini-Me looked up at with a wide, innocent eye. I'm sorry, Sugar, Lizzo said gently, but you're part of this package and part of the problem. And before anyone could protest, she stuffed Mini-Me right up Dr. Evil's asshole. Ah! Dr. Evil shrieked from inside the drum. He's tickling my spleen. Get him out. I do not consent to. The lid slammed shut. Earl taped it shut with duct tape and slapped the label on. Fragile, contains one mad scientist and one tiny terrorist. Do not tip. As the semi rumbled into the night, the truck stop erupted in cheers. The raccoons broke into a conga line. The fry cook played We Are the Champions on kazoo. Lizzo stood at pump 3 sipping a strawberry Slurpee. Her kingdom was restored. Tootsie Lou approached. What now, Queen? Lizzo smiled. Now we rebuild. More glitter, more condoms. And someone find me a new mirror. Mine cracked when Evil sneezed on it. She paused, looking into the dark horizon. And if Dr. Evil comes back, she winked, tell him I've upgraded to a new handbag. Now it's got tasered rhinestones. The night settled, the neon buzzed, and somewhere deep in the bowels of a semi-truck, a tiny voice giggled as much a larger voice wept. Lizzo took a long, satisfied sip. Another night, another victory for Queen, country, and corn dogs. Dr. Evil. Ugh. Thank you, Olive. Appreciate that. Rockin' steady, you like that? Little Mini-Me. It was a good night. It was a good night. Dr. Evil will make a comeback, Johnny Ohm. I promise you that much. I like how fucking how Mini-Me threw his Baby Ruth wrapper at Earl and he ate it. All right, guys. Thank you for hanging out with me. I appreciate all of your support. I had a great night. Once again, every Saturday is great when I'm hanging out with you guys. Stay safe. Have a great rest of your weekend and stay warm. Stay warm. And if you guys got the flu, stay hydrated and don't let your meat loaf. All right, guys. Thank you. And I'm signing off.